Howdy. I do enjoy a cozy sit-down diner, unless that said diner turns into a fight club at night, or has poison chicken wings, or harasses its staff, or turns them into mixed martial artist fighters. Because I guess that's something we do now. I'm morbidly curious and eager to show you. So let's check out the 10 most hated sit-down restaurants. And obviously, this isn't a reflection on the staff who work at these restaurants. You do a tough job, and I really hope these restaurant chains are treating you well. And obviously, we can't account for every local restaurant on the planet. I'm just going by polls and general reputation. And hopefully your local restaurants are giving you a better experience. Anyway, let's begin. For number 10, Applebees. When I asked my community on Twitter, I discovered that Applebees is popular for being unpopular.
Excuse me, I think my steak is overcooked.
This is Applebees. It definitely was overcooked.
Applebees, drink your blue drink and shut up.
But no one really explained to me why. In case you're not familiar, Applebees is a full-service bar and grill, and I found it averaged a 2-star reputation on very similar types of reviews. Common reviews included,
"The service was crap. I waited over 30 minutes for such and such, and it came out cold. My gravy tastes like dump."
well, not that last one, you get the picture. But besides these usual reviews, what stood out to me most is how many people referenced being sick afterwards. iwaspoisoned.com keeps track of customers getting food poisoning, and according to their statement in 2023,
Applebee's has had many reported cases of food poisoning. The most commonly reported symptoms are nausea and diarrhea, but the most recent outbreak was for E. coli, and that affected 7 people in Minnesota.
Applebee's customers also frequently reported to the website nausea and vomiting. And almost exclusively, these reports had one food in common. The one lone stomach saboteur, the Parmesan chicken wings. So if you have a day you're feeling queasy, maybe avoid Applebee wings that day. And whether true or not, Applebee's also has a reputation for microwaving many of their foods. Amber worked as a cook for Applebee's, and she said,
Some of the food comes in frozen, but our steak, chicken and riblets are cooked to order.
and here are some of Applebee's most petty, ridiculous reviews.
Parking sucks. Why is the urinal so low? A waitress gave me a lemon wedge. I didn't ask for a lemon wedge. 1 star. And the waiter didn't remember my water.
So as you can see, some of these reviews aren't worth a sack of crap. So take this list with a grain of salt and let's just have some fun. And what do we got at number 9? Waffle House. When I think of Waffle House, I tend to think of a humble roadhouse diner where you can get a pleasant all-day breakfast 24 hours a day. So what would put the Waffle House on a most hated restaurant list? 2 words, Fight Club. But let's get through some daylight customer issues first. According to many reviews, some of the food at Waffle House is quite mediocre, and sometimes they apparently price gouge the customers. The Consumer Affairs website had a fair few complaints like this, such as Catherine or Laurie.
I ordered to go from the Waffle House. Menu price was $10.75, but I was charged $13. Outrageous. The food sucked too. Waffle was mushy and my bacon was overcooked.
Well, you'll have to save your bacon when the sun goes down. But that terrible joke does segue us seamlessly into Waffle House's real problem. Have you ever heard of Fight Club? No, not the Edward Norton and Brad Pitt movie. The Waffle House Fight Club. Apparently after dark, some Waffle Houses have a reputation for turning into a place for brawls. So much so that it's even been joked about in Waffle House job interviews. Prospective employees have often been asked,
Can you fight?
I'm serious, Google Waffle House fights or blood, sweat and syrup, and you'll see a multitude of videos, memes and stories of the violent fights that start in Waffle House. Former employee Haley is even known as the Waffle House Avenger. She was even filmed swiping a flying chair away from her face during a fight. And apparently, this wasn't even the worst she'd seen as a Waffle House employee. When Haley was interviewed, she said,
I've probably cleaned blood off every surface of a Waffle House.
"Yowza! Nothing against regulated boxing, but this sounds kinda dangerous and a recipe for disaster." Inspired by her time at Waffle House, Haley has become a mixed martial artist fighter. Hey, good on her, but why is the Waffle House so notorious for these kind of fights? Haley had a very simple answer for this.
Late nights and alcohol, people get impulsive and turn into toddlers.
You see, Waffle Houses have been open 24 hours for many years. As a night bird myself, these would be very handy on my midnight walks. But I don't really fancy getting into an unnecessary fight. I plan to keep these teeth as long as possible. I noticed a sociologist from the University of Texas also weighed in with their opinion on Waffle House's reputation. Michael said,
At this point, the Waffle House is a meme, and as such, it is a place where people understand certain things might happen, and they behave as such. A place where certain norms are suspended, where you can push the envelope a little bit.
But you don't want people getting hurt, so hopefully this reputation will be cleaned up. But until then, I'm not so sure I'd wear my usual shirt and pants to Waffle House. Perhaps a suit of armor would be more appropriate. Personally, I recommend they keep the fighting for the boxing ring or the martial arts dojo. Number 8. Denny's. When some Americans think of going for breakfast, they think Denny's. Denny's has been popular for decades, whether it be for late night hangouts or early morning business meetings. Some people have even got married at Denny's. See, we might laugh, but given the average cost for a wedding in the USA is $30,000, they're the ones with the last laugh. They get a cheaper wedding and pancakes, what's not to like? But sadly, Denny's does have a pretty poor reputation with many people. In the past, this rotten reputation was for very understandable reasons. But let's start on their service nowadays. When I looked at the American Customer Satisfaction Index, Denny's was one of the lowest on the list in 2022, and sadly, satisfaction was on the decline. But a survey can only tell us so much. What did people have to say? Let's look at some reviews. Gary's review from the Denny's in Arizona was pretty telling.
I understand this is Denny's, but even the most basic diners need to have standards. I ordered a hamburger. It was soggy with grease and burnt to a crisp. Fries was greasy as well.
I found it interesting that there was this unspoken rule in his review that if it's Denny's, your standards have to be lower. What did Destination say?
The waitress got the order wrong, forgot flatware, didn't refill coffee. I didn't even get my toast.
Oh no, not the toast! How will you get throughout your day without the toast? Jokes aside, the Denny's I checked had mixed reviews for terrible service, poorly made food, and questionable cleanliness. But now we get to the worst of Denny's reputation, which started back in the day. You see, in 1994, Denny's actually paid $54 million in racial bias lawsuits. And in 1994, that's a lot of money. Back in 1991, they were also known for asking African American patrons to pay before getting their meals. Oh wow, that's really bad. And you might be thinking, yeah, but that was years ago. But sadly, this trend still pops up at Denny's occasionally. For example, in 2020, a waitress ignored 4 African American customers and served 2 Caucasian men who entered after them first. Then she made these African Americans pay before getting their meal. But a Caucasian patron who had not been asked to prepay his meal reported this behavior, and in a since deleted post, he blasted Denny's for their racial bias at their restaurants. And good on him for not standing idly by. 20,000 social media reactions and 8,000 comments later, Denny's released this statement.
We are deeply disappointed and outraged by the situation that took place at our restaurant. Denny's has zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind.
Even my community reported their local Denny's refusing service to 2 African American truckers. Ugh, this one ended on a bit of a downer. I wonder if Nin and Boo are back from Hello Kitty Church yet.
Yeah, you should come along.
Ugh, no! Why did I ever look that stupid cat up? And for 7 Lucky 7, Chili's. When I asked on Twitter what was people's most hated sit-down restaurant, Chili's was a surprisingly common answer. For example, this comment from Sophie.
Chili's served me raw food twice in the same meal as a child. First, a pizza that they couldn't reheat because I'd already bitten into it, which is fair.
No, that isn't fair. Bitten or not, don't give a child a raw, cold fricking pizza. Could they really not spare the $1 expense required to heat the child up another pizza?
Then they gave me chicken tenders that were pink on the inside. I haven't been back since.
I don't blame you, that's terrible. I'd never go back either. The Consumer Affairs website was full of 1-star reviews as well. James said,
I ordered the steak and chicken fajita combo. The chicken was like a wet sponge in my mouth. The portion was very small, very poor for the $18 price.
Ron was no happier when he also got cold food.
First, they totally forgot my appetizer. Then, my main came out refrigerator cold. Like ice cold. Manager didn't care and no apologies were given. Terrible service.
How freaking hard is it to remember to stick a piece of chicken in the microwave before serving it up to customers? Credit to Denny's, they may have lots of microwaves, but at least they actually use them. But with all these complaints, it started to make me wonder, is something else going wrong at Chili's? And sadly, I didn't like what I discovered, I wasn't wrong. Under the surface, there was a surprising amount of sexual harassment claims from former Chili's employees. Out of respect, I won't go into too much detail, but there were cases like Alex, who went to social media on harassment and Chili's working conditions.
I wouldn't have so many stories to tell from actual employees that have worked at your establishment and who have not been heard about SA allegations.
Or Emily, who was relentlessly harassed by her manager for 2 years. And when Alex expressed her and Emily's stories on social media, it led to hundreds of stories from Chili's employees. Stories of bullying, harassment, and exploitation came flooding in. The clear message here is that hate for Chili's stems from both sides of the counter. Man, sorry, I gotta stop ending these segments on downers. Hey, what are you two looking up there?
It's a Hello Kitty shrine. Let's go see it.
You want to go to Japan for... Alright, I'll go. Number 6. Shoney's. You know, when you're a picky eater, or maybe your family and friends are, a buffet normally can satisfy those cravings and expectations, but apparently Shoney's can't guarantee it'll also be clean, tasty, and warm. But what's my point? Yelp reviews in particular haven't been kind to Shoney's. They know them as the roadside, all-you-can-eat buffet, serving up cold chicken burgers and steak, with a drink served in a dirty cup you waited 30 minutes for, from a bored waiter who apparently never cared enough to take your order, until you basically had to do a dance to get their attention. But don't take my word for it, let's hear what the Yelp customers had to say. According to Ryan's review,
Wow, my expectations were low, but holy crap, this place sucks. Imagine eating something flavourless. That's what you get from the barbecue bacon burger here at Shoney's. Worst burger ever.
Mashed also ranks Shoney's as one of the worst all-you-can-eat restaurants. Like these reviews, they had some rather bold claims.
A lot of their foods are gross. It's not the ingredients or recipes, but rather everything is so stale. It's not uncommon to see gravy with film on top, or mac and cheese that's dried out.
TripAdvisor reviews weren't too kind to Shoney's either. This is what Tierra said.
My peach cobbler was hard as a rock. My stuffing was stuck together. My corn was too sweet and the fruit was sour. Everything was basically out of a can, except the chicken. Hashtag shut it down.
Hashtag shut it down? I wonder if that ever caught on. Not that it mattered, because apparently that's what happened to a lot of Shoney's restaurants. Some were even abandoned, but we'll get to that soon. You see, the Shoney's franchise did take off originally, but when the founder Schoenbaum passed away in 1996, the company fell on hard times and went bankrupt. When a fellow named David bought the franchise in 2007, he pushed to rebrand Shoney's. This led to many Shoney's restaurants being closed or abandoned completely. These days, you can see footage of abandoned Shoney's restaurants on YouTube. When they abandon these restaurants, it's amazing what they left behind when they just up and left. Alright, number 5. Golden Coral.
What did you call it, Strider?
Golden Coral.
Golden Corral.
On SiteJabber, we had 145 reviews of Golden Coral.
Corral.
Okay, Robin, I get it. I'm sorry. Golden Corral. We had 145 reviews of Golden Corral. 96 of these reviews were 1 star. I'm seeing a bit of a trend here. Let's start with Paddy's review.
Dirty and disgusting. All the tables had dirty dishes on them.
And of course, there's John's review.
The steak was purple. I think there was blood on the walls. Or maybe it was ketchup. 3/4 of my group had shitting problems.
But I think what mainly gave Golden Corral its bad reputation was a particular controversy that kept floating up. Sanitation. And not just dirty toilets or food on the floor. To start with, this particular photo got a lot of attention on social media, which was snapped by a customer dining at a Golden Corral restaurant. He couldn't find a clean plate, so I guess he invited himself into the kitchen and took a few pictures while he was there. Golden Corral officials responded to this picture.
That picture was just a snapshot. That wasn't the true story. The whole story.
And you know what? I believe her on that. Speaking as an ex-dishwasher for a super busy Chinese restaurant, this may look dirty, but at peak times, crap can hit the fan. And it is an insane job getting through peak hour dishes. People complained in this picture that there wasn't a dishwashing machine. But again, speaking as a dish pig, they're actually less efficient than me just cleaning them by hand. 20 years ago, my boss told me on my first day,
Dishwashers are too slow. Put your dishes in the sink and get to work.
in their second big controversy, buffet food was put out by the dumpster. Why? In this viral video, a Golden Corral employee was so disgusted during a health inspection that he took this video of raw meat stacked next to the dumpster while the inspection was on. When management spoke out about the video, they had this to say.
This food was put here because it was being improperly thawed, and we didn't want to get in trouble with the inspector.
Well, I appreciate their transparency and honesty at least. Maybe just dump the food in the bin the next time? Or just cop the reprimand for improperly thawing the meat.
Once we found out immediately what had happened, we threw all the product away.
Well, that's good to hear. Let's finish on a positive note. Apparently, Nin has found us a glowing review from me M on SiteJabber.
Y'all need more seasoning. Y'all only had cookies and those other pies look like diarrhea. Speaking of diarrhea, I was fighting for my life on that toilet and then...
Hang on, that's not a positive review.
But it was funny.
Yeah, well, I think I can see where it's going. Let's move on, shall we? Number 4. Oh, I know this one. Outback Steakhouse. Hey, wait, isn't this one Australian?
Kind of. It's an Australian-themed American restaurant.
Oh yeah, wasn't this the place we had dinner with your friends that night?
Yeah.
But our food was well cooked and the customer service was great. Why would this make it to the most hated list?
Well, just remember, we had it in Australia. We don't know what it's like in America.
Good point. Let's jump into what we do know. Outback Steakhouse is an Australian-themed restaurant, founded in America, by 4 Americans who've never been to Australia. Yeah, I think I'm starting to see the problem. Apparently, these Americans were inspired by Crocodile Dundee.
That's a knife.
And based the Australian menu and the Australian theme on the ideas they got from the movie. Sounds as genuinely Aussie as the Aussie accents in The Simpsons.
$900 dues!
Anyway, apparently the staff were required to mimic an Australian accent, which I really wish I could have heard firsthand. It must have been adorably silly. Well, at least I know in America I'll always have a job as an Outback Steakhouse waiter. G'day mate, can I take your order? But let's look at this menu. Filet Sheila, shrimp on the barbie, chocolate thunder from down under. Who are these Americans kidding? Seriously, it's prawns on the barbie, not shrimp.
This is what we call a prawn in Australia.
I've never even had prawns on the barbie. We usually have sausages and steak. And I've never heard a lady called a Sheila in my life. And chocolate thunder from down under. I'm not even gonna go there. Let's just say the interpreted meanings were lost on whoever wrote the menu. That aside, let's see what Americans think of this quote-unquote Australian restaurant. Of all its Trustpilot reviews, Outback Steakhouse got an average of 2.3 out of 5 stars, which isn't great, but let's see some more specific reviews such as Todd.
That was the worst food I ever ate. The steaks were complete, not edible. They tasted like an old $5 piece of meat. The veggies looked like someone stepped on them. The whole meal was terrible.
I'm genuinely curious what a $5 piece of meat tastes like now. You know, in some countries, that's big money. What does Romney have to say?
That was horrible. Lobster mac and cheese had one piece of lobster in it. It was nasty, fishy and rubbery. You'll be sorry if you eat here.
Ew, lobster mac and cheese? We don't even eat mac and cheese here in Australia. And why lobster? Wonder if we can find an Australian's perspective on it.
Honey, I had a friend who actually ate at an American one.
Oh yeah? What did they think of it?
They thought the menu was hilarious. But moreover, they didn't mind the food. But they had no idea what they were thinking with the bloomin' onion.
The bloomin' onion? What even is this? Where in Australia was this ever a thing? Anyway, as Australian, I'm not actually offended by this restaurant. It actually makes me smile seeing the American interpretation of us. But if the idea was to be a cool, kitsch, Outback Australian experience, couldn't they have at least visited Australia? Hell, do a freaking Google search. Talk to an Australian person. We're not that hard to find. But if you enjoy the Outback Steakhouse menu, more power to you. Glad you enjoy it.
Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great!
Number 3. Popeyes. Ooh, Popeyes a restaurant. I wonder if they have spinach chow mein. Oh, a different person. Who names their kid Popeye anyway? Whoever the restaurant is named after, it has a pretty abysmal average score on many websites, such as Trustpilot, where it has 60% 1-star reviews, and its American Customer Satisfaction Index sits at one of the lowest I could find, though its score did improve by 4 points last year, so good on them. Yelp had a lot of lip to give about Popeye too. Let's start with AJ's review.
I was in a great mode before eating here. Afterwards, I was depressed and mad. The chicken tasted like fried penis. The service was atrocious. Apart from the nice black man at the counter, he was very understanding. If I could pick a place for the next natural disaster to hit, it would be the kitchen of that Popeyes.
Well, let's try a different Popeyes restaurant. How about this one from TripAdvisor that averaged 1 star in reviews? This one's from Woodstock. Woodstock has a Popeyes? This I've gotta see.
1 stars. Staff was completely rude. They forgot my utensils and strawberry biscuit. So I went back and about totaled my tuck doing a U-turn, so I was a bit upset. My biscuit was as hard as a rock and the rest of my food was no better. No f***s were given by management. I'm sure no one will read this, but staff is ruining business.
Michael, my friend, it's likely in this video more than 50,000 people will read your review. And I hope your truck is okay and your next biscuit is better. Let's see, controversy. Honestly, I looked super carefully, and Popeye's reputation is actually super clean. The biggest Popeye controversy I could find, if you can even call it that, was when they had the bring your own bun burger. You see, the Popeye chicken sandwich became a nationwide phenomenon. It was huge. In fact, it sold so well that they sold out all of their buns. So they made the bring your own buns burger.
Just 3 tenders.
But that's already on the menu.
Thereby, you have a chicken sandwich.
And I have to bring my own bun.
What the f***? You get it, hun? They've got the buns.
Yes, I get it too.
Did you bring your buns?
Yeah, we better move on to avoid censorship. Number 2. Panda Express. Honestly, I was hesitant to add this one to the video. I love to eat Chinese food and my best friend is Chinese. But looking at these reviews, I'm wondering if Panda Express is run by actual pandas. Because this reputation is so bottom rung that I struggle to find any good reviews. And like all these restaurants, this is nothing against anyone who works there. But looking at these reviews, clearly something has gone wrong on a business level. To put it in perspective, on Statista polls, only 37% of customers said they actually liked their experience at Panda Express, while Stacker found that 52% of its customers had a negative opinion about it. It had a low satisfaction score in ASCII, but that did improve this year, so good for them. But statistics aside, what were customers' actual complaints? Let's see what Billy had to say.
The food sucks, and half the menu was not available. Guy behind the counter was an ass. We'll never go back again.
He's an ass? Does that mean he's a donkey? I thought there were pandas there. No wait, they're meant to be humans. Anyway, what did Teresa have to say?
Had to wait 30 minutes for my food with a group of people. When I got my food, they had racial remarks written on my container to identify me. I was outraged. How about using my name, not my race next time?
Ooh, that one's really bad. I think you could understandably go full Karen on him for that one. Sadly, there was definitely a trend in Panda Express of lack of customer care. Let's see what Steven said.
In 2009, the food was good. Big portions, always hot and tasty, but served with a side of hostility. Jump to now, you get a small portion, no meat, and a cold side of, you guessed it, hostility. I challenge anyone to pick a random Panda location. I bet the reviews will all say the same.
Yeah, I'll take your challenge on that. Apparently this problem is pretty widespread and common. Even if the food is good sometimes, the service seems to have a generally poor reputation. That being said, these reviews certainly won't hit their bottom line. They do okay, as they had over $3 billion in revenue across 2,200 stores in America alone. And I think this is the tricky part when a business like this gets too big. Like McDonald's, it doesn't seem to matter if some of these bigger restaurant chains get a garbage reputation, because a bigger conglomerate knows their business will succeed anyway. But not by quality, but instead by foot traffic, convenience, and familiarity. But hopefully, your local Panda Express offers a better experience than I could find. Number 1. IHOP. The International House of Pancakes. This pancake house has a worse reputation than the one with regular fistfights? What? How? What did they do? Why did Mashed find in a survey that the least trusted restaurant in America was IHOP? According to our old trusty American Customer Satisfaction Index, in 2022, IHOP scored the lowest ASCII score in their entire restaurant study. We gotta figure this out, honey. Is IHOP punching every second customer in the face or something?
Apparently, the waitresses are really mad. There's lots of reviews showing customers getting upset at the waiters. I hope IHOP staff are being treated okay.
But by far, the biggest complaint was very long wait times. Some reviews said the staff were walking around like zombies. It worries me as the staff all honestly sound really overworked. According to Shakura on Consumer Affairs,
it smells like a wet dog in the restaurant. I reached to pour the syrup and it's nothing but water and syrup. The waitress said that's exactly what it is. Water and syrup.
Well, at least she's honest with you. Jeffrey had a few complaints too.
The customer service is always horrific in one way or another, either due to an abundance of staff that seemed like they didn't want to be there, or not enough staff to get customers served.
A lot of these complaints would often come back to exhausted staff and long waits. In Colorado, Boulder's review was a good example of this.
The waitress took 25 minutes to tell us that they were short-staffed and the manager had to cook. 20 minutes later, something in the kitchen burned and the whole restaurant was smoked out. And one of our orders was wrong.
I mean, I feel like it's a little more concerning that the restaurant was on fire as opposed to your order being wrong. The Los Angeles IHOP was pretty popular. What does Yelp say about them? Ugh, wouldn't you know it, more long wait times.
This place is a nightmare for Uber drivers. They just made me wait like an animal. Just let me know I'm going to need to wait 45 minutes. Don't come here. Very slow service. They'll make you wait hours just to get your food. Worst ever.
I think we can say with certainty that one of the biggest issues in a restaurant can be long wait times. It might explain some people's frustration with staff and staff's frustration. though admittedly, some of their stores were literally on fire as they were serving customers. So I hope you'll understand if I'm a bit more worried about the working conditions of IHOP than your pancakes being late. But I'd love to know, what has your own experience been like at these restaurants? Have you had a better experience than these reviewers? Have you had a worse one? Maybe you even worked at one of these restaurants and have an inside story. These food videos give me some of my favorite comments, so please don't hesitate to have a chat below. And as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Today's member question is from Danielle as Armiento. They ask, what is your favorite meal or junk food? While I don't have a favorite meal, my favorite meat to cook with is chicken, and for red meat I have kangaroo meat. It's low fat and arguably the most sustainable red meat on the planet. Bar maybe rabbit meat, I do appreciate hunting meat. My favorite junk food is probably Caramello Cadbury chocolate. Here in Australia we have the Caramello Koala. Like most other people, I also really enjoy the Snickers bar. Some delicious treats.